Hello everyone, welcome to yet another day in the clown decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And today we are talking about something that is very close to my heart, the great British institution known as the pub. It is an institution that is so well known that it is something that has been replicated pretty much all over the world, because there is just something so special about having a cosy atmosphere mixed with on-tap drinks that manages to bring social cohesion to unprecedented levels. Anyway, Labour have plans that is going to absolutely ruin that further than it has already been ruined. First off, there are rumours that Rachel Reeves is considering raising alcohol duty in the budget because Labour have decided that despite the fact they had all access to the country's finances for so long in opposition, they decided never to actually take a look at it and realise that actually, the public finances aren't great. So now they're trying to raise money where they can. Naturally, the drinks industry, which believe it or not basically run all the pubs in Britain, warns the move could have catastrophic impact on pubs. The Chancellor has not ruled out putting up tax on beer, wine and spirits as part of an effort to plug what Labour claims is a 22 billion hole in the public finances, which, as much as they try and blame the Tories, that is a lie that luckily has not stuck. The drinks industry has warned the move would be counterproductive, leading to lower revenues and having a catastrophic impact on pubs. And pubs are going badly as it is. It's something I say an awful lot of the time, but I tend to not drink at pubs an awful lot. One, because I move somewhere where I don't have many people to go to the pub with anyway. But even then, buying a pint at the pub is probably worth double that of buying pint cans from my local Sainsbury's, Tesco's or Morrison's. And given that we have been in a cost of living crisis now for 2 years at least, thanks to lockdown ruining the economy, people are less and less willing to go out to pubs because it is more expensive than sin. It comes amid fears that government is considering more sin taxes on unhealthy products including fast food, sugary treats, tobacco and vapes. Pubs and drinks producers fear that Ms Reeves will use warnings about the dire state of public finances to justify an increase in alcohol duties. That certainly seems to be the way things are going, and yes, this is once again going to make running a pub even worse. And I suppose it's fair to say at this point that yes, this is just rumoured plans. However, with the direction Labour has been going in with absolutely everything else, it would not come as a shock to me if this alcohol duty was to increase. And I'm talking about things like this. Outdoor smoking ban at pubs being considered by the Prime Minister. Again, this is all stuff they're just considering, but typically when you hear that thing's being considered, 9 times out of 10 they're actually going to implement, if not exactly that, something like it. And the first paragraph contradicts this anyway. Keir Starmer has confirmed the government is looking at tougher rules on outdoor smoking to reduce the number of preventable deaths linked to tobacco use. Responding to a report that smoking could be banned in some outdoor space in England, the PM said, "We have to take action to reduce the burden on the NHS, which is always going to be the reason for making life much more miserable. The details remain unclear, but smoking could be banned in pub gardens, outdoor restaurants, and outside hospitals and sports grounds." The hospitals one makes sense. Health experts have welcomed the plans, but the BBC have told that some ministers have raised concerns about the impact the ban could have on the hospitality sector. Some business owners have already raised concerns. Pub landlady Lisa Burridge, 55, said pubs should be able to choose whether or not to go smoke-free, and it's not up to the government to make that decision. And I mean, that's my attitude with smoking indoor in pubs as well. If you don't want a pub that has smoking rooms, go to a pub that doesn't have smoking rooms. At this point, if you remove that law, I think most pubs wouldn't allow smoking anyway. But some would, and guess what? Some smokers like to have a fag with their drink. It's perfectly fine. Hell, my favourite part of going to pubs is the outdoor chat you have with the smokers, because they are frankly much more interesting people. I don't know why that correlation occurs, but it's been my experience anyway. So yeah, this is yet another talked about policy that is probably going to come into law, and literally everyone hates. Anyway, if it's not the government directly saying maybe we should ruin the pub, it's tedious university academics. A sobering discovery has led to Cambridge University academics calling on the government to stop serving beer in pints to reduce Britain's alcohol intake. As if you can't get half pints in pubs. A study found that beer consumption dropped 10% when pubs shelved pint glasses and served customers with glasses 2/3 the size instead. that could be enough to make an impact in the fight against several forms of cancer and other health issues linked with excessive drinking, research have argued. Again, save our glorious NHS. I'm sorry, I don't want my life to have to revolve around not putting pressure on a healthcare service. Every other country in Europe manages to have fun without saying, oh, our healthcare system's going to be ruined if we don't do something about this. The government has no plans to remove pints at the larger serving size of draft beer, but former Tory Cabinet Minister Lord Vasey told the BBC he thought it was a good idea and that it should not be dismissed out of hand. My God, this would have cross-party support. Why? I am almost on the side of destroy the Tories, but I still have that glimmer of hope that someone like Jenrick can come in and get rid of the wets. That is actually being openly said by the right wing of the Tory party, those that haven't left for reform yet. So it's not outlandish to say that that could happen, but it definitely needs to happen, because why vote Tory if they're just going to be Labour? I've said that for years, and I still voted for them for ages. Speaking on BBC Two's Politics Live, the former Culture Secretary said, offering people what looks like a pint, feels like a pint, but isn't a pint, which means you end up drinking perhaps less and get healthier. Yeah, I'm not being funny. I'm going to notice when a pint glass is 2/3 of the size. Researchers found drinkers tend to stick to a specific number of servings when drinking at pubs, regardless of size. Britain's pint is also larger than typical servings in other countries, Britain topping the leaderboard yet again. In a similar trial in January, wine sales fell when largest glass sizes, typically 250ml, was scrapped. I don't know what the alternative was then. Researchers asked more than 1,700 pubs, bars and restaurants to participate in the trial to say if the same trick worked for beer. Only 13 accepted, despite compensation offers for lost sales, and the study found customers did not complain about the smaller beer measures, and on average venues found number of units of alcohol that were sold fell by about 8%. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure when these people heard, oh, it's only temporary, that's why they didn't complain, because they knew it was just a small complaint. I think if it was to happen forever, you'd see a lot more complaints. I'd certainly complain. But it's just little things like this, making every part of the fun you can have that little bit less fun, that is making Britain seem more and more depressing. We've got depressing high streets where half the shops are closed. Beautiful green spaces, even in the middle of cities, are now just being concreted over. Just take a look at Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester. Hell, even when I walk through London, you can tell that big concreted over spaces clearly used to have some sort of greenery under it, because you used to see pictures of it everywhere. And I'm not being funny, but I was going to wait till the end, but I'm on this depressive streak at this point, so I may as well get this article up. Pub closures have increased during the first 3 months of 2024 to 80 per month, up 51% from Q1 in 2023, according to analysis of official government data. Which is just mad, and the UK hospitality sector is constantly calling out that this is a problem that really needs to be fixed, because why are they all closing? Duties on alcohol, rents to actually keep the pub open keep going up. People are drinking less is always brought up, but part of the reason people are drinking less is because it's so expensive to go out. Further down we can see that independent nighttime economy venues, so nightclubs and things like that, have gone from having over 100,000 in March 2020 to just under 90,000 that we have now. Almost 15,000 nightclubs and evening venues have closed, and that is a trend that is only getting worse. And what are the government doing to fix this and help this part of the economy grow? Nothing, they're making it worse. Anyway, if that wasn't bad enough, pubs forced to call last orders early in new Labour nanny state blow. Crackdown on drinking under consideration as Fun Police government sets out plan to improve health and tackle antisocial behaviour. Again, all the same reasoning, save our NHS, or isn't antisocial behaviour so bad? Even though I believe recent statistics show that actually at pubs you're seeing less antisocial behaviour than, say, drinking in the street or drinking at home anyway. But again, this is the third consideration that is going to be a direct blow to pubs. If even one of these gets through, it's still going to be a blow to pubs. You're still going to see more closures. There is absolutely no interest to try and save this sector, despite the fact that here you can see Starmer smiling like an idiot pulling a pint. In a move to roll back the continental cafe style of drinking culture introduced by Sir Tony Blair, one decent thing I suppose he did, but we don't have that style of drinking culture. Most places over in, say, France, at least in my experience, they're open till 2 in the morning. Just bars, I mean, not nightclubs, they go open till later. But pubs in the UK close at either midnight or 1 in the morning, and even then, with licensing hours, it's still much more restricted than the continental style, so to think we have this mad, loose drinking culture, it's just nuts. It's basically occurring in spite of our laws. Andrew Gwynn, the Public Health Minister, said the government was considering tightening up the hours of operation of bars and pubs. Mr Gwynn said the idea was being examined by ministers as part of an effort to improve health and tackle antisocial behaviour. Yawn. Professor Sir Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer, has told ministers that if current trends continue, 60% of the NHS budget will eventually be spent on diseases that could have been prevented, while the current figure is 40%. I just don't believe that statistic, frankly. The crackdown on drinking is under consideration, alongside measures to target obesity, including punishing the food industry to reduce fat, sugar and salt content of everyday food. Once again, yawn. Insisting Labour was not the fun police nor super nanny, Mr Gwynn said the case for such measures was both moral and economic. No, we're not being nannies. It's for your own good. Anyway, there's no detail on the specifics of when last orders will actually be under the Labour government if they should go through with it. But it is odd that Tony Blair was the person to bring in 24-hour licensing laws that pubs could apply for, and now his successors are saying, actually, we want you to only open for, 6 hours a day rather than 12. Obviously, that's probably an exaggeration, but still. Early closing at pubs? What? We already have issues with social cohesion in Britain at the moment. Why would you want to make it worse like this? Anyway, luckily there did seem to be enough pushback on this that Labour listened for once. Cabinet Minister Pat McFadden, who is widely seen as the PM's ministerial right-hand man, poured cold water on the suggestion that pubs could be closing early. It had been made by Public Health Minister Andrew Gwynn, who mooted how the government is considering a shake-up in licensing laws in a bid to improve the nation's health and tackle antisocial behaviour. One of the issues being alcohol, and obviously alcohol is served at pubs, and therefore pubs might be under threat yet again. Mr McFadden quickly rejected the idea that pubs will be forced to close early. Speaking on LBC Radio, he first suggested, "Is there some time at the conference for me to table an emergency resolution, or am I going back to my old days in opposition?" He then added, "I don't think there is any plan to shut pubs early. The pub is a great part of British life." Great. The MP for Wolverhampton South East also told how he was planning to have a drink in coming days. I don't really care. I'm not gonna lie to you, but this article from the Evening Standard saying, oh, pubs aren't going to close early, one minister said it isn't filling me actually with that much hope. If the health minister is openly saying he is considering this, I don't see why another office minister in the cabinet will be the person who knows exactly what is going on in the Department for Health. But this Labour government is in such a shambles, I can't even get a straight answer here. Are we going to have early pub closures or not? Because Wes Streeting seems to think so, but then other people in the cabinet don't seem to think so. And I'm not going to lie to you, I'm going to trust the word of the health minister when it comes to public health issues and policy. Anyway, in the time of all these policies being announced and rumoured, some thankfully famous people had had enough. In an interview with Times Radio, Jeremy Clarkson, who is a vocal critic of the Labour Party, made it clear that Sir Keir Starmer will not be welcome to his pub. Asked if he would invite the Prime Minister to the pub, he said no, he's banned. Actually, he's the first person to be banned. He's actually on a board in the hall. He's banned. Clarkson, who is also a prominent farming campaigner, was scathing about Labour's policies during the election campaign, declaring that he would rather vote for his dog than Sir Keir's merry bunch of ideological nincompoops. In an article for The Sun before the election, he took particular issue with the party's positioning on farming, claiming that its manifesto can contain just 87 words on the subject, which when translated into English basically say we hate you, you meat-eating rural half-wits. So yeah, obviously there's a little more than just this pub problem that Jeremy Clarkson hates, but having just recently opened a pub and selling bacon sandwiches for £7.50, because running a pub is expensive due to bad policy, clearly he's having none of it, and thank God for that. Because if there's one thing I'm bored of already with this Labour government, it's having to cover their dominoes of absolute screw-ups. lies about the economy, answers to those lies making their economy worse, all these syntaxes and little things that are just going to make living in Britain even worse than it needs to be. Where's the respite? Where are we supposed to have these little release valves from the stresses of life? Again, as I say, I would happily go to pubs more if it wasn't 2 to 3 times as expensive as just getting beer in the house. But then that's the other problem. When people start moving away from pubs, they're going to start coming after drinking at home. Because as much as they try to deny it, they are the fun police. They are the fun police for everyone else, while they are happily on camera saying, oh yes, my daughter wanted me to get some Taylor Swift tickets, so I took some for free. Oh, yeah, we're going to make a football regulator, and Arsenal are now offering us £6,000 per use corporate boxes. Oh no, that's nothing. Don't worry, we've declared it. It's public information. That means it's not a bribe. Whereas the rest of us have to deal with pubs closing at 11 o'clock, paying a tenner for pints, and overall just having more pressure put on us. While yes, the Labour Party are the biggest hypocrites going and do nothing but help their union friends. So, I mean, I don't know what else people who voted Labour expected, but from what I hear, most people who voted for them are just happy that it's not the Tories anymore, despite this being quite clearly a worse trend than the Tories. And yes, I do mean that unironically. Anyway, that's me whinging about drink being slightly more expensive in the coming years, so I had my 15 minutes here. Anyway, shill time. This week, I'm doing Laughing at the Guardian on Saturday, so come along to that. Next week, it's a Tosh newscast, so we'll be going through the news of the past 2 weeks, of which there is plenty to talk about with conferences going on, etc. Then, of course, the Dustbourne playthrough will carry on, but I am thinking of streaming Subnautica after that because we clearly need a bit of a break from bad games. And I'm enjoying it and people are enjoying the gaming stream, so I may as well do that again while Regional Variation is still on hiatus. Yes, it is painful, I know. Me and Mercian do miss Regional Variations, but as far as I can tell, Tailed Feature is still too busy to do it, but hopefully one day it will return. Anyway, with that, that is everything I had for you today, so do subscribe, become a member, share this video with anyone who's interested, and once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.